welcome back to my YouTube channel, Kristen Lee Vlogs. It is finally 2022 in terms of me making content for you. I apologize, it took me a hot second to get organized, figure out my editing style, and publish all the videos from my 2021 summer travels, but we made it, we did it, go team! But yes, now I am gearing up to leave for my first trip of 2022, and that's to Canada for 2 weeks. My flight actually leaves in 8 hours, so I have to leave for the airport in 3 hours, and for some reason it crossed my silly brain to make a vlog or video about how to pack and travel for 2 weeks out of your carry-on bag. I don't know why I make these decisions, they just keep happening to me. But yeah, anywho, it's not my greatest idea, but here we are. So hopefully my travel tips that I've picked up over the years of solo traveling, just going on general trips, will help you out. And I know that we live in this crazy world, and right now it's the summer of revenge travel where everyone is ready to get out there, meet new people, see new places, make new memories, explore the world essentially. But simultaneously, we have to navigate this really crazy travel industry that we're currently in, which means we have all-time high prices, demand is skyrocketing, supply is just super low in terms of staffing. We have planes being delayed, or sometimes planes just straight up being canceled, like right when we get to the airport or the day of. So yeah, hopefully my tips and tricks will help you out in terms of alleviating some of that stress, saving time, helping with financial stuff, all that good stuff. But yeah, in the future I will also be making a much longer video that's more comprehensive and will delve into everything that has to do with travel, from searching flights, finding accommodations, figuring out transportation, apps that you should have, packing, all that good stuff. But this is just going to be a little 10 quick tips in terms of packing. So yes, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm going to be going to Canada for 2 weeks, and I will purely be traveling out of my carry-on bag. This is because I am avoiding bringing a checked luggage at all costs from now on, just because it's way easier traveling without a checked bag, and with airports pretty much losing everyone's checked bags all the time, it feels very risky. So my tip for traveling, like, you can honestly travel indefinitely out of a carry-on bag, is to use the 7-5-3-1 rule. So what that means is I bring 7 different shirts, 5 bottoms, whether it's jeans, shorts, leggings, sweats, whatever, 3 types of shoes, and then 1 sweatshirt, and then you can of course add whatever you need. But that pretty much covers the essentials. And the reason I bring more shirts than bottoms is because for me, I feel that shirts get dirtier faster, like your pit sweat, that kind of thing. Whereas bottoms, you can wear those comfortably like 2 or 3 days in a row and they're still perfectly fine. In terms of shoes, I always say bring a nice pair of like sneakers, bring a pair of shoes that pairs well with like a dress or going out to dinner somewhere nicer. And then of course bring like running shoes for days where you're doing excursions, hiking, lots of walking, and where you need good support. And then after that, you can bring a rain jacket if it's going to be raining. You can bring a light jacket. I like to always pack 1 sweatshirt just in case there's that weird weather day, or if I get cold at night, I have something nice. But yeah, those are my tips for packing 2 weeks, and it should all fit if you apply the rest of the tips that I'm about to give you. Travel tip number 1 is to make a packing list. Now I know this sounds really simple and obvious, but I swear a lot of people don't do it because it can be a bit of a hassle. But if you do take the time to make this packing list, it will help you out so much in the long run. My suggestion is to make a packing list about 2 to 3 days before you intend to actually pack your suitcase, or before your trip. That way you give yourself some time to think of the smaller items that you're more likely to forget. the first step to making your packing list should be to check the weather. So you want to figure out, is it going to be hot? Is it going to be cold, sunny, rainy, all that good stuff? And I know it can be a bit difficult to see what the weather is going to be like 4 months out. You can always go into Google and look up a place and be like weather in June or whatever, and it'll kind of give you the average temperatures and average precipitation, and that can help you out. But just do your best. That's all you can do. If stuff happens, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, just prepare as best you can. After you made your packing list, or after you check the weather, you can start making your packing list. Another kind of sub tip along with this is to keep a note on your phone. I like to do this because when I'm out and about, I might think of things if I'm at the store or if I'm just talking to someone else and I don't want to forget it later on. Or if you have that moment where you're on the brink of unconsciousness as you're falling asleep and you get suddenly a brilliant idea, or you say, hey, don't forget this, but you're also too tired to get up and write it down, you can just stick it in your phone. That way you won't forget and you'll be all good to go later on. So yes, that is travel tip number 1. Okay, so travel tip number 2 is lay out everything. Once you have your packing list compiled, lay out everything that you need to pack and just like put it on the floor. That way you can kind of visually see, you can check it off, make sure you've got everything, and it's all in one space. That way when you're ready to pack and actually physically put it in your suitcase, it's good to go. Travel tip number 3 is to use packing cubes. They're very affordable and so worth it. I literally just bought the basic ones that Amazon suggested I use. I'll link them down below if you want to grab yourself some. But ever since I started using them, they have been an absolute godsend, especially if you're not staying somewhere for a long period of time, like you're kind of backpacking or you're going destination to destination every couple of days. They make packing in and packing out so much easier because you know exactly where everything is. Everything's compartmentalized and it saves space and it just makes it so much easier. So definitely use packing cubes. Tip number 4 is to reuse the grocery bags that you pick up at the store. So these are the bags. This is what it looks like. We typically use them for produce, vegetables, that kind of thing. You can use those to store your shoes in them. So for me, I like to bring my running shoes. I put them in my bag and then I stick it in my suitcase. This is a great alternative to the travel hack where you store your shoes in shower caps. Personally, I don't have a shower cap and I don't want to go buy one. And pretty much everyone has access to little produce bags from the grocery store because they're free. So this is a great way to repurpose them instead of throwing them out, because if you throw them out, they just end up in landfill, and single-use plastic is killing our environment and the animals. So please reuse them. This is a great way to do your part and save money. Travel tip number 5 is to bring a cloth bag. So this is the one that I use. It's basically my reusable grocery bag. I find that they're awesome for, carrying groceries, just my day-to-day smaller excursions around the city. If I want to go to the park to people watch, I can use this, stuff whatever I need for the day, a jacket if it might get cold, that kind of thing. Because carrying a backpack that serves typically as your carry-on, or not as your personal item, can be a bit bulky, and I don't want to ruin the aesthetic sometimes. So bringing a cloth bag is a great alternative. Plus, like I said, it's great for going to the grocery store. When I travel, something that I personally do to save money is I restrict myself to eating out only once a day at some restaurant or local spot, just because it can be really expensive to eat 2 or 3 times out. So the other 2 times, I'll go to the grocery store and find some ingredients to make a home cooked meal or just snack throughout the day until I can get to that one meal that I've allotted to myself to really splurge. This will end up saving you lots of money if you do that. So yeah. Tip number 6 is to purchase travel size shampoo and conditioner containers. These are the ones that I use. I just got them from Amazon. They were Amazon's choice, so that's why I bought them. I'll link them down below if you want to grab yourself a set. But what's really awesome about them is, first of all, they are TSA approved. They are within the 3 fluid ounces limit, so they all fit in your quart size container. They come in different colors so that you know what's in what. And you don't have to go to the grocery store to like buy specifically travel size containers of shampoo and conditioner, and you can put your own personalized items in here. So like I have a very specific facial wash, a very specific acne wash that I know doesn't exist as a little travel size container at a grocery store. So I can put that in without having to, you know, worry about it. And then lastly, another advantage to this is that you're saving the environment. Again, with the whole single-use plastic, you're probably not going to reuse those little bottles that you buy at the grocery store. So this is a lot easier. And I've also never experienced having these like explode when I open them. So they're super sturdy in that regard, and I highly recommend them. Travel tip number 7 is to pack a pen. Again, this is less of a hack and more of a just a general tip and piece of advice when you're traveling, but it can save you some panic and stress. In the age of COVID, we are constantly filling out forms, stating our entry, where we're going to be staying, all that stuff. And so you want to carry a pen with you just to save yourself the hassle of trying to find one. I actually like to bring 2 or 3 because when I travel with my friends, typically they don't have one, so it can help everybody out. And hey, if you lose one, at least you have a couple of spares, right? Travel tip number 8 is to get a small carabiner and then put all your hair ties on them, and then you can clip the carabiner to the inside of your backpack. That way you always know where your hair ties are. Personally, I always lose my hair ties if I don't do this. Like if I just leave them around in my backpack or in my suitcase or in like a little toiletry bag, somehow I always end up losing at least 3 of them. To fight this, I always keep on the inside of my backpack. That way if I'm on the go, I need to tie up my hair, I'm ready to go, and I know where to find them, I know where to put them, and it just keeps me organized. I know this is more of a tip for girls, but hey, maybe there's some dudes out there rocking some man buns. Tip number 9 is to always set an alarm 24 hours before your flight departs. Why you want to do this is because most airlines will allow you to check in 24 hours before your flight leaves. If you check in right when this window opens, it will do yourself 2 favors. First of all, you will get a more favorable boarding time, right? They separate us into zones. If you're zone 2 instead of zone 9, you're much more likely to find overhead bin space for your carry-on luggage. And that way, if you're row like 15, you don't have to go to row like 29 to get your bag, right, when you deplane. Reason number 2 is that oftentimes you can select your seat from what remains from those who paid to get a certain seat. So I'm a window gal, but I never spend money on purchasing a seat just because I'm too cheap to do that. So if I check in really early, typically there's plenty of window seats, aisle seats, and middle seats left for me to select from, and I don't have to spend an extra $1. So there's always that. Keep in mind, not all airlines do this, but the majority of the airlines that I've been on have allowed that. And so that's a nice way to save a few extra dollars. Travel tip number 10, and perhaps the most important travel tip of all, is to check your airline's website. Specifically, you want to look at their baggage policy. You want to see, hey, are there certain dimension restrictions? Are there weight restrictions for my carry-on? Those are really important details. As much as we love to believe that stores sell the universal size for all suitcases and carry-on sizes, that's not always true. Airlines will vary what they allow by like a couple of inches or a couple of pounds, and that can mean a whole world of difference. On one of my first solo trips, I didn't check the website because I was more panicked about solo traveling in general. And so when I showed up to the airport, they weighed my bag and they put it in one of those cages where it has to fit in, and it didn't fit. So I had to check it, and because my flight was a long haul flight, I had to pay an extra $100, which is a lot of money, especially when you're young and broke, or you're just trying to penny pinch essentially. Number 2, or kind of on this note, you want to also check the weight dimensions, especially for budget airlines. They typically have weight restrictions on your carry-ons. Notoriously, like EasyJet, where was I flying? I think Air Iberia in Spain. There's a couple of budget airlines in Europe that are super stingy on weight restrictions. And I know it can be difficult to keep track of like how heavy your bag is. If when you're going from country to country, you might be buying souvenirs. So one thing I suggest investing in is a portable luggage scale. This is the one that I use. I think it's, yeah, this is the one that I use. I'll link that down below as well if you want to grab it. This is awesome. It's super small. It's literally like this big. It weighs nothing. It takes up almost no space, and it gives very accurate measurements in both the metric and imperial system. It just gives me a bit of peace of mind when I'm traveling. That way you don't show up to the airport and you're like, oh my God, like, is it gonna fit? Am I gonna have to pay extra? This will just give you that extra sense of surety. So that's the end of this week's vlog. Thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful or useful in any capacity, I'd love if you would like this video. Also, feel free to comment below what your favorite travel hacks are. We're always trying to help each other out here. Everyone's just trying to survive this crazy time that we live in and save as much money as possible. And then lastly, feel free to subscribe if you want to keep seeing my weekly travel videos on places to visit for where I've been, money saving tips, and everything travel related. As I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, I will be making a much longer comprehensive video about everything for the entire travel trip planning process and execution process of that. So yes, stay tuned for that. Until then, I shall see you all in the next vlog where we head to Canada. Woo!